Hello, welcome back, and today part 2 of our look at string variables. What we're going to do today is practice what we learned in the previous lecture on using string variables in the input box command in VBA. So when you uncompress the resources for today's lecture, you're going to see a pile of stuff in the exercises and notes compression, and there's the problems that we're going to work on. Here are the files and the solutions, the files and the solutions, and the files and the solutions. So I always give those to you. If you want to skip it and come back to it later and look at the solution, you're more than welcome to do it. But I thought we would do the first one together. Okay, so let me pop up the problem sheet. Okay, here's the first question. So we need to load in the associates file. When we load it in, you'll notice that it has a couple of columns and offices in a number of states in the United States. What we're going to do is create a procedure called get year and rate, and after we ask the people for the current year and rate, we are going to predict the future sales for these particular divisions, so to speak, for a company. In particular, after we work out the new increase in sales, expected sales, what we're going to do is move over to the next column. So if we called the first column 2018, let's say, 2 columns over, it's going to be 2019. So we're going to incorporate a bit of math here, a bit of concatenation, a number of different things going on here. It's kind of a decent question to get us into the review status of what we did last lecture. Here's a better look at it, what I was just talking about. So here's the associates file. And here's a couple of different offices, so to speak, for this company. These are their sales for a particular year, and we're going to try to predict the increase in sales for the year after. So we'll press the developer ribbon, we'll start up Visual Basic, and in Visual Basic, what we'll do is we're not going to click on this workbook this time. We're making an actual module. So we'll go to Insert, Module. Okay, that's a good way. Right there. And remembering from our last lecture, what we're going to do first here is type in the word option explicit to force us to make sure we declare all our variables. Now we start creating our actual procedure. Okay, so we'll say public sub, and according to the question sheet, we want this to be called get year and rate bracket. Okay, so you notice now option explicit has the line above it. Okay, and we're ready to start typing. Let's start off by declaring our variables. Dim, let's go with string year as a string, obviously. We'll dim the rate, so string rate. And I'm typing them this way just to remember that even though these are numbers, when we use the input box, they're going to come in as strings initially. We'll convert them after. And the last one is dim, and this is for the actual sheet that we're going to work on. So sheet sales as a worksheet. Next, we will set the sheet sales equal to application dot workbooks 1 dot worksheets 1. Next, we're ready to prompt the user to type in the appropriate inputs. So we're going to ask for the year. Okay, so we're going to use input box bracket, please enter year, and then comma, and then you can put a title there. Okay, this is for the year. And we also have to prompt for the rate. So string rate equals input box bracket, please enter rate, comma, rate. Now before I do this next part, I'm going to slide this over just a little bit so you can see what I'm trying to do here. What we're going to do is see where it says percentage increase. I'm going to go and change that number to an actual number that's been input. So that's B15. And then I'm also going to, in a second, change these titles up here. There's nothing actually there right now, so that's B4 and D4. So I got to sort of make a mental picture of that so that I can remember when I type them in. All right, let's start off with the rate first. So sheet sales dot range bracket, that was B15, and then dot value equals the val, remember, the string rate has quotes on it right now, and we'll divide that by 100. Okay, let's add one of those titles. So sheet sales.range. Now we're going back up to the top, and it was B4, and then dot value equals. Now I want to write down, as it's explained in the problem sheet, I want the word year, a little bit of a space, attach that to str year, like the actual number. So when it's in quotes, it's going to actually say the word year. When it's not in quotes, it's going to say the actual value that you inputted. So let's say 2018 or whatever. Okay, and then after that, we're going to attach the word sales. And again, I put a little space there. Next one's almost the same. So can I just copy and paste this so that I save myself a little bit of typing? Okay, so it's almost the same as this one, except for the following. It's not B, it's going to be a couple over, so it's D. And here is the tricky part. I'm going to do a bit of math here. Okay, so this right now has quotes on it. And I didn't really care for the first part because I just wanted to print out the year, but now because I have to do math to it, I got to make a little val on it so that it unquotes, takes the quotes off, +1. So if I typed in year 2018, this is going to take the quotes off 2018, +1 gives me 2019. Okay, I think we're done, and I always say that and we end up finding some error, but that's the beauty of programming, trial and error. Let me do a save right off the bat just so I don't lose anything. Okay, and we'll call this associates new, and again, remember it has a macro now, so it has to be a macro enabled workbook. We'll press save. Okay, and we're ready to test it out. Now this time to test it out, we don't have to actually close it and open it because our routine is not in the open event. We created just a regular sub procedure. So if we go to macros, you should see it right there, and you should be able to press run. Oh, we got an error. Let's see what's wrong. Can you see the mistake? Extra little plus in there. Got a little bit crazy with the pluses. There's the little N sign for concatenation. We should be ready to go now. Let's try it again. All right, we'll do a little quick save, and we'll go back up to macros and press run. And yes, success. Enter a year, so we'll say 2018, and our rate's going to be, let's say, we predict a 5% increase in sales. Look at that. Year 2018 sales, the 5% increase, and then the 2019 predicted sales. Okay, and of course, I had already put these formulas in for you, so if you're wondering where did they magically come from, they were already pre-done for us. Okay, so nice little example. What I'd like you to do now is try some of the other ones and stop the video, and when we come back, we will go through the solutions to those, and then I'll do a little wrap-up exercise as a nice little recap of what we've learned today. Take care. We'll see you maybe in a couple minutes, maybe another day. We'll take up the solutions. Hi guys, how'd it go? Did you try them out? Let's go through the solutions. Here is the second problem I gave you. A couple things to note in this one before we show you the solution. This one's going to use the open event procedure, okay? So it's going to be a little bit different than the first one we did together. And the second part I didn't really show you. I wonder if you were able to figure it out. Use the current contents of cells B4, 5, and 6 as the default values in the input box. What that implies is as the input box appears on the screen, I want a number in there already before you even type, sort of a default value. Let's see if you figured it out. All right, here's the actual spreadsheet. Let's go into the developer ribbon and look at the code. So this time you do click on this workbook, okay, to get the open event. All right, there's our option explicit. Let's take a look at all our different declarations. Now, the first thing you should notice in the declarations is that you can write a bunch of them all on the same line, okay? So for instance, in this one, we've got current salary 1, 2, and 3 as a string instead of putting them underneath each other, just to make the solution a bit more compact. Here's our sheet salary as a worksheet, and then we point to that particular section. And here I wrote it out the long way with the actual name of the macro saved on the hard drive and the actual sheet name. Again, I like using one. It's quicker. It's going to work exactly the same. This is where I want you to notice the big difference. We prompt for 3 salaries, okay? Salary for job type 1, 2, and 3. This part's the same as ever. This is the title. Look at this third option, which we've never used inside. What it does is this is pointing to B4, which is the current salary. Okay, same with this one and same with this one. And that becomes the default value. So this input box has a number of different sections to it. We've only used 3 of them. We've used 3 of them now. You could just use 1 all by itself and no title. We usually use 2 with the title, and now there's a third one, the default. Okay, so that's kind of cool. And sometimes it saves people typing in information if they're not going to change the value that's already there. Once I've typed all those in, all we do is take those values and store them into those new locations, and the Excel formulas that I've already pre-put in there take care of the rest. Now this one we just can't play by going to macro and playing it. It won't show up. What we have to do for this one, because it's in the open event, we have to actually close this and then run it again. So we'll close it. Okay, and we'll double click on Industries Solution. And as soon as it starts up in the open workbook event, this will pop up. Okay, so 23,000, let's change that to 30,000. Okay, job 2 will change to 40,000, and job 3 will change to, it's going to go down, 20,000, and then all the other numbers change. Okay, and again, we pre-put these in for you to take care of that. All right, let's take a look at the next question. All right, question number 3. What I like about this one, first of all, we're back to creating a sub-procedure, so that's not the big change. The big change is that there's going to be 3 sheets. We've been doing mostly 1 sheet at a time, right? And you're going to be putting answers to your prompts in 3 separate sheets. So that's what makes this last one a little bit different. Okay, let's take a look at the solution. So in this particular question, we've got 3 different worksheets that we're going to work with. Without getting too technical, this could be for university professors who are keeping track of marks for students, and they have like a total, and then of course marks are graded on the percentage of what they're worth, quizzes, midterms, final exams, and things like that. What we're basically doing is asking for this total point so that we can scale the marks appropriately to work out a final student mark if we had to do that. Okay, so let's take a look at the solution. Let's press the Visual Basic Editor, and we're going to do it in 3 separate steps. Okay, so first of all, a declaration for total points is a string, and we'll have this sheet instructor as a worksheet. Okay, now we'll do each part separately. So for the first worksheet, for Professor Carver's worksheet, we make the sheet instructor point to specifically that sheet, nothing else. Okay, and then we prompt the user to enter the total points, and I've got a default here of 0. Okay, last one we had it point to a particular location. This one I just type in the actual number, a default of 0. Then what I do is I take that value, okay, and I put it in that particular cell. So this is pretty basic after that. Second one, same idea. You basically erase where this was pointing to and say it again, but now make it point to a different worksheet, the Patel worksheet. Again, prompt for total points, and then store it in that particular cell, and then the same thing with Professor Chen. So let's take a look at how it runs. So remember, this one is a procedure, so we will have it available to us right in here. So if we go to macros, get total points, run, it's going to prompt us 3 times. So I'll make this one 400, 500, and 200. Okay, and then if we check each worksheet, those values have been put in those spots. What I want to do now is revisit a question we did in the last lecture, and I'll just pop it up right now just to see if you remember it, and then we'll show you the changes I want to implement. So when we press Enable Content, right away it starts and it says give me your name, so I'll type in CC and I'll type in 3%. Now that's great, but what I want to do is get rid of this open event in the sense that it's going to prompt us, because what if I want to do this question again? Do I have to close the program and load it up again? That's stupid. We're going to figure out a better way. All right, let's see what we got to work with right now. Let's go into their code, and right now all the stuff's in this workbook, and we've got this open event workbook open event. what I want to do is basically get rid of all of this stuff, maybe even just put a little hello and welcome, but that's it. I don't want any of this stuff in here. And then I'm going to create a separate sort of sub-procedure that I can call anytime I want. So let's go to Insert, Module, okay? So we got that ready to roll. And let's try to make this as easy as possible for us. I'm going to slide this over just for a second to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to basically cut and paste all of this. And I'm going to pop it in this one. Okay, now I've got to give it a name, right? So let's call this sub get name and rate. Bracket, bracket. Beautiful. And then I'll press Control V to paste that in. So far, so good. Okay, now we do still have a problem. Now I've got this open workbook, which I still want to use. So I want it to say maybe now just welcome to my program the very first time, and then that's it. So I'm going to put down that message box bracket welcome to my spreadsheet or something like that, right? Okay. Now, once it does it, I want it to execute at least the first time this stuff over here. And then from then on, I'll maybe have a button or something. So how do I tell the computer, hey, after I said welcome, I'm going to run it the first time at least once to do this part? Well, there's this new word called call. Bracket, or no, actually no bracket, just call and then write down this name, get name and rate. So call, get name and rate. And so what will happen is we'll start the program the first time you load it up. It'll say, welcome to my spreadsheet. And right away, this will say, now go over here. And it'll go over here and do it. All right, isn't that cool? That's how you call these subroutines. And then from then on, I'm going to put a little button on the screen. We'll do that in a second too. Okay, let's close this off. And remember how to throw a button in here? I'm going to press Insert. I'm going to press this one right here. All right, now draw a little rectangle here. And when I let go, it'll ask me, which macro do you want to execute? I'll press OK. And there it is. We can change this, obviously. Run sales macro. And we're basically ready to go. I'm just going to press Save just to make sure everything's working right. And actually, I'm going to close it now. And I'm going to start it up again. Okay, now when it starts up the very, very first time, it's going to say welcome. And then it's going to, after I click OK, this is cool, it's going to run the macro. Beautiful. I'll type in my name. I'll type in a rate. Now, from then on, if you're in here already, why would you want to exit and start it up again? That's stupid, right? So now what we've done is, because we've made it a sub-procedure that we can access via buttons by going to the macro command in the developer toolbar, we've got access to it all the time. So if I want to run it again, great. I type in another name, Tom, and I type in a different rate, 7. Okay, so there you have now kind of a neat way to jump from one procedure to another using the call command. And there's a nice little wrap up. And now we're on to a nice little large application of the concepts we've learned up to now. Thanks for listening. Take care. We'll see you in the next lecture.